The most popular phones from today and the past few years, like the iPhone, Samsung Galaxy S series, and Pixel, all shoot high resolution video. The default camera apps on these phones allow you to lock the focus and exposure while recording, which is very helpful for the type of videos that we're going to be shooting. Before we get started with shooting in the camera app for iOS devices, I want to make sure that we're shooting at the highest resolution possible. So we're going to go into settings, and then under camera, we're going to click on record video. We want to make sure that's set to 4K at 30 frames a second. If your phone can't shoot 4K, it should give you another option for 2K or 1080p, 1080 HD. But we want to make sure that for our stock camera app, we're shooting at the highest resolution possible, which is 4K at 30 frames a second. So now let's go into the camera app. And as you can see, before we touch anything, as you move it around, you see that it is auto adjusting for exposure based on how much light is in the shot. Well, while we're shooting our clips, we do not want that to be adjusting while we're shooting. So we're going to lock the exposure and lock the focus in the stock camera app. And this is for the same for iPhone, iOS devices, and for Android devices. We're going to click on the screen to set an exposure point, and that looks good. We're going to expose just for that wall right there, and click and hold it, and then the yellow box AE/AF lock comes up. That means the exposure is locked. So now if we move it around, it's not going to be adjusting like it was before, which is good because that can be really distracting. So now that we have that locked, we can get our shot. I'm just gonna go pan from side to side just for an example of a shot there. When it comes to using a third-party app for shooting your video, I recommend two apps that work for both iOS and Android operating systems. The first app is the Moment app and is packed with tons of features like setting the exposure and focus independently, as well as color temperature and all the micro tunings of a regular DSLR camera that you can do for your phone. Now we're in the Moment app, and I'm going to show you the settings that you need to make it most useful for you before we get started. Once in the app, we will click the icon in the top right corner and make sure we are selected on video between photo, video, and slow shutter. Next, click in the bottom right hand corner, the three bars, to go into the app settings. Scroll down to grid and we will select thirds. Then scroll down more and we will make sure that highlight clipping is selected. Scroll down a little bit more and go to standard video format and make sure that is on H.264. Frame rates is set to NTSC and the bit rate is set to the highest possible. Now back in the main screen, we will select our frame rate to 24 frames a second. Make our resolution the highest possible, in this case 4K, and make sure our color profile is set to default. And we will not be using our flash. Now on the right hand side, we will select shutter speed and set that to 1/48 of a second, which is double the frame rate for that cinematic motion blur. Once we have our shutter speed at 1/48 of a second, we'll know how much ISO we need to use to properly expose our image. It looks like 102 will be the level of ISO we'll need for this image. We will toggle all the way over to AWB for auto white balance. Click on that, and there we can adjust the white balance to our liking. 3200 Kelvin looks good for this shot. Now we can hit record. The other app I use is Filmic Pro. Now it is a little bit more expensive than the Moment app, but definitely worth the investment if you're going to be shooting a lot more video on your phone. Now that we are inside the app, we will click on the gear on the bottom right hand corner and select resolution. And we'll make our crop 16:9 and then make sure that our resolution is set to the highest, 4K, and then also the quality right below that is set to the highest. In this case, it'll be Filmic Extreme. All right, click off the menu. That'll take us to the main menu. And now click frame rate. And we'll make sure that that is at 24 frames capture and playback. Next, let's click on device. And we'll make sure we are set to save to camera roll. Now also in the bottom left-hand corner of this menu, we will make sure stabilization is clicked on, making sure that that is in black and not grayed out, and that stabilization is turned on. Click off to the side and then click down on the bottom left-hand corner, the A symbol, and at the top you will get 4 icons. Let's go ahead and click on that first icon on the left. That makes everything black and white, but as you can see off to the left, and let me move the camera over so you can see it, are these red bars that show us what is absolute white or overexposed. This is super helpful when setting up a shot and make sure that everything that you want seen is exposed properly. Now the circle reticle on the left right here controls exposure. If we press it and move it around, you'll see that the exposure is adjusted to wherever this reticle is. If we move it outside, it'll try to expose for the outside, but we want to make sure everything in the room is exposed properly. So we will find a place to expose everything that looks good, and then we can tap on that and that will lock it and turn red. The square reticle on the right controls focus, and as we move that around the room, the focus will adjust to whatever it's on. Since this is a room with not a lot of depth, we can keep this in the center and then tap it once to lock it. If you double tap the focus reticle, it will expand the area that it takes in information, and so the whole image becomes more, it will adjust its focus based on what is mostly in the image. The same thing goes for the circular exposure reticle. Once you double tap it, it is enlarged. It is taking in more of the image to adjust the exposure. We can tap the exposure reticle one more time to lock the exposure for our shot. Now that our exposure is set, we can turn off the zebra stripes and go into white balance. Click on the 3 primary colors in the bottom left-hand corner to bring up the white balance screen. Here we can control the overall color of our image, and at the very end, if we click this orange button, that auto adjusts the white balance. But we have some presets like tungsten, sunny, cloudy, fluorescent, and then 2 custom presets that we can save. We can move on the color spectrum here, and then hold down on A and save current as a preset. Now let's look at the auto white balance at the end of this menu. When the auto white balance button is blue, that means it will be continually adjusting based on what you're looking at, what the white balance should be, what the color should be. This is not ideal if we're going to be moving throughout the house in a shot. We don't want the color to be adjusting while we're shooting. So the next setting is, if we click this once, it turns red. That means the white balance is now locked based on what we're looking at the moment right now. So that's not going to be, so the white balance will not be adjusting while we're shooting. It is preferred to set your white balance before you start shooting and then locking it here. If we click the auto white balance button one more time, it turns orange, and with this setting, it will lock the white balance as soon as we start recording and hit record. This is not ideal, but if you're still not quite sure, you have the auto white balance correct and you want to move the camera around to find something that you like, then hit record to lock it. This is an option as well. We have our shot set up, so now let's get the shot, record it, and we'll go on from there.
One last thing. Video is the biggest marketing tool for real estate out there. And I've put together a course that teaches you how to shoot and edit cinematic videos for your real estate listings, vacation rentals, long-term leases, and any other property that you have. I'll show you which apps to use to shoot and edit with, how to frame your shots moving through a property, and some accessories to help with the shooting process to produce professional looking video to publish on the MLS in social media. In the course, you can ask me any question about anything in the course and get updates about apps and tools to help you make your videos even better. You can get the mobile video for real estate course at a special price if you sign up right now. Click the link below to join me in the course and get started making amazing videos for your property. All right, that's it. I hope this video was super helpful for you. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. Have you taken real estate photos with your phone before? What are some problems that you're having? Anything you find useful? Let me know down in the comments. Make sure to subscribe, hit that like button if this helps you at all, and I'll see you in the next video.